And by the way, when you think nationwide, what do you think?
On your side.
Exactly. And so they have a jingle, and jingles are worth their value in diamonds. I mean,
Yeah, man.
jingles are so catchy. Hey everyone, welcome to the Amazing Marketing Show where we talk about marketing topics, things that happen in the real world in marketing and business. And today we're going to be talking about some current events that's happening in some big companies and also some thoughts that we have on CMOs in general. I'm excited to dive into this. I'm Dmitry Smirnov here with my co-host Chris Gray. Chris, what's going on?
Dimitri, what up, man?
I'm excited about today's episode because we have four specific topics that we want to go over. And I think we're going to disagree more than we agree on these, knowing ourselves. But who knows? I guess we'll find out.
Let's do it, man. I'm happy to be here, happy to talk some current events in marketing, and I am interested in going over these topics, sir.
All right. Well, first topic is that Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, the big bad wolf on Wall Street, is planning to let advertisers target bank customers based on their spending history. Dun dun dun. Everything that you buy, the weird stuff that you bought the other day that you don't want anyone knowing. Well, now all advertisers will know about it and they're going to show ads to you about it. Chris, how do you feel about this?
I don't like that shit, man. I know that Facebook does this, right? Facebook or TikTok or whatever your social media platform is going to take a look at your behavior, some of your spending behavior, your purchase behavior, if you allow it, and they're going to serve you relevant ads. And I think that's cool. I think that you know, overall does lead to a better user experience. But there's something about you watching my bank account that I just don't like. Like you could watch me on the web and going from URL to URL, but once you start getting into my bank account and looking at what I bought, this, that, and the other, it seems like you're taking something that is personal. Banking is very personal, right? You're taking something that's personal and you're going to use that information to then serve me some ads. And I don't want ads from Chase. Like if you're listening to this, when's the last time you went into your Chase Bank app, whether it was on desktop or mobile, and just took a look at an ad? I don't even know. I didn't even know they served ads until I looked into this a bit better. But overall, I don't like this shit.
There's some history to this, so I agree with you. I don't even know what ads Chase has served before, but now I'm thinking they might be serving more in the future because according to this article, in 2022 they acquired a marketing platform named Fig with two G's, and apparently whatever that is now leading. That was the first step in this process of getting Chase to be an ad network. Maybe they're seeing Facebook, maybe they're seeing Google and others like, dang, they're making a ton of money. Now we are making a ton of money too as Chase, but what's stopping us from also becoming an ad network? What if we can take some of that market share? And you're right. You know what? There's no incognito mode on your bank statement. Like everything that's on is okay. Facebook, you can hide some stuff from them and from Google, but you can't hide it. If you bought it, you can't hide it. It's on your statement. Period. But you don't like it. Okay. I think I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with it because to the same point that you were saying that you're going to get more relevant ads, well, you're going to get more relevant ads here too. And maybe there's going to be some opt outs. How would you feel if you could opt out? That'd be okay then?
I'd be like, why do I need to opt out of ads on my banking app? Don't serve them to me.
Hmm. I wonder how many people use the Chase banking app and website. They probably have tens of millions of people using it, lots of impressions. They could be onto something. I'm looking at this from the perspective of an executive at Chase. Whoever thought of this, I think this is actually a pretty good idea. And like as far as fines go, we know how those things go between big companies like Chase and the government. Like, hey, you want to fine us $1 billion? Please go ahead. We're going to make 10 or 15. I think we talked about this on
Yeah,
the Apple episode.
yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I guess there's no stopping it. So, are you going to move banks?
I'm not going to move banks. I don't like this. And from your perspective, yeah, again, it's good for Chase. Chase will make money off of it. You'll have these advertisers signing up to pay Chase or pay their advertising agency money, but I think it's cheating. You see exactly what I spent my money on, and you're using that information to make some money. And in this scenario, in this context, it doesn't sit well with me.
So, looking further into this article, they do have some language saying that you as an advertiser are not going to be able to see the specific purchases of each person, and it's going to be more of like a basket targeting of somebody who purchases things like, which is what we already have in the ad platforms. Would you be okay with that?
My beef is not with the advertiser who's trying to make the money. My beef is with the publisher. In this case, it's Chase. You are taking my information that I used, to with you, and you are finding a way to monetize me based on this information. This information I'm giving you is gold, quite literally to you. It's cheating.
Hmm. Well, it kind of sounds like you're the old man shaking his fist at the sky because you're not going anywhere. You're going to continue using Chase, and they're going to start serving you ads, or you're going to just shake your fist and keep paying your statements.
It's too much of a pain in the butt to move the bank, so I'm just going to complain about it the entire time while I still continue to use them.
I think that is that point right there. The pain point, it's too much pain to move, is how a lot of these companies operate, and that's why they're willing to pay so much for a new credit card user. Like, I mean, look at everyone's in the credit card space now. The banks for sure are, but you look at even airlines and hotels, and everyone's trying to get people on credit card. They spend a lot of money to get someone on a credit card because once you're in, you can't leave, you don't want to leave, it's too much pain, and if you do leave, it's a hit to your credit score. It's kind of messed. It's a really messed up system. You want to cancel your credit card? Oops, credit score went down by 45 points.
This is how Wells Fargo was able to get through that crap they did however many years ago, where it was, egregious is not even the right word for what they did, and it was all over the news. But I think at that time, I had a Wells Fargo bank account at that time. Did I move? No, because it was too much of a pain in the what to I don't even know why I say what, because I cuss anyways. But it was too much of a pain to move bank accounts, and I guess unless you were directly impacted, meaning they took your information and used it falsely to get a credit card or something. That didn't happen to me, and if it did, I wonder what would I have done. And if they compensated me, I might have still stayed with them because, again, it's just a pain, man, to move banks.
Yeah, it really is when it has to do with paperwork, credit, money, everything's connected. But it's brilliant from a business perspective. Once you have someone, there's almost nothing you can do to them to get them to leave. Like, how good of a business model is that?
I bet you it's changed too. Like if I went into some random bank right now and said, "Hey, I wanted to move banks," I bet it's probably easier than it was back in the day, right? So I'm sure the process has become a little more efficient. Kind of like how when cell phones first came out, when you're changing providers, it really sucked. Now it's almost like you don't skip a beat. It might be better in the banking world with that. I don't know, but just the thought of it is daunting.
Well, maybe something that we can keep in mind for our own businesses in kind of a secret way is how do we make it more difficult for customers to leave? Not that we want them to leave in the first place, but if they were thinking about it, maybe they'd think twice. Um,
Seems like the FTC would have a problem with that.
well, yeah, and we can't have a friendly arrangement of what you're going to find me and where it's going to go based on my revenue. Okay, so that was a fun one. Let's move on to another big company nationwide. And by the way, when you think nationwide, what do you think?
On your side.
Exactly. And so they have a jingle, and jingles are worth their value in diamonds. I mean,
Yeah, man.
jingles are so catchy. My goodness. Like um what I mean, do you have a jingle in your business?
Yeah, we don't, but we work with some home service companies, plumbers, marketers, and some of them do have jingles, and we'll link them up with companies to do jingles. One of the most effective ones is we work with a couple of plumbing and HVAC companies, and what they do is when you're on hold, we're here in Texas. Most people are into country music, so instead of having your standard hold music or your standard hold music that has somebody talking over the music, talking about how great the company is, they have a country song. And it's, I'm not huge in the country, but this is well done. This guy has a guitar, it's acoustic, and he's singing about his plumbing problem and him being on hold. And the whole hook is, I'm on hold. And you just start listening to it. Man, I'm not a big country. I like old country, and this has an old country vibe. And it's just, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Side note, you said you like old country. That's the second point of me calling you an old man now because you only like the old style country. So you're definitely that guy shaking his fist on his lawn, telling the kids to
Yes.
get off. That's what it sounds like. I just looked up the biggest insurance companies in the country, and they have a lot of them have jingles. I mean, think about. Let's see if you can. I'm just going to name companies and see if you know what they are.
All right.
Liberty Mutual.
Liberty, liberty, liberty. Yeah.
It's right. It stays with you forever. Okay, this one's a little bit tougher. Farmers Insurance.
Oh, it's bum 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 or something like that. Like,
Exactly. Well, you got
yeah,
it. You got the second part. We are farmers. Bum
yeah,
da da bum bum.
we are farmers. Yeah,
See, there you
got
go.
it.
It's like all insurance companies have to have it, or something like it. And we're talking about Progressive. There's the Flo lady. She's kind of popular. There's Jake from State Farm, which is really taking off, I bet, to their huge surprise. And now that guy who plays Jake is a big celebrity.
Did you notice how they pivoted? They used to have like an older Jewish man, I believe, and then they had him with Chris Paul, and then they started introducing Jake, and then slowly Jake moved him out. I wonder why they did that. I've thought about that before.
Yeah, the crazy part about that is the previous guy, the white guy, was named Jake.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
Damn.
because I think I remember the original commercial, which was brilliant. It was so funny. It was such a funny commercial when it was the husband on the phone at night downstairs, whispering into the phone. It's like, "Can you do that for me?" Where they would imply that he's talking to like some phone sex number.
Yeah, yeah. I
The
remember that was
wife
a great
comes,
one.
the
But
wife
I think
comes
that
down.
was the first Jake, though. I think that was the black Jake that we see now. I think that was him, bro.
No, no, no.
YouTube it,
Um,
YouTube it. Let's see. Prove it, Dimitri. I'm,
original
I'm pretty sure, bro. It was that
Jake
black
from
dude,
State Farm
Jake.
commercial. Now, in my mind, it flashes. Yep, it's not the black guy. It's the white guy. It was not
What?
that long ago. Yeah, it's like no, it's just Jake from State Farm. And let's see if I can share. No, I don't know if we're allowed to do this like
That's good.
legally
That's
and
all
stuff.
good.
So I'm just gonna yeah, Jake from State Farm flashes. I don't think he's a Jewish man. I'm not exactly sure. He's kind of like maybe like a white Hispanic or something.
Yeah, I'm wrong in all kinds of ways.
But he's like, so the wife says, "So what are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?" It's so good. He's like, khakis."
That was a
Yeah.
brilliant commercial.
So they changed, even though he was already Jake. They bring in the new. I don't know. What do you think? Why did they? What's up with that?
It's a marketing move. Obviously, I mean, it's something they saw in their data that made them move to this younger black guy, right? Like, it had to be something in the data that they have all this access to because all these people signed up, and they just went with this cat for that reason. I don't. It's not a, it wasn't a throw the spaghetti against the wall type move. There had to be something around it. It had to do something with their data.
Yeah. Here's what I think, because if they had the data in advance, they would have already used him. I don't think that I don't think they thought this commercial would hit quite the way it did, and I don't think they thought Jake would be the star of the show, really, because he just had
Mm.
the one line, just says khakis. Jake became the star of the show and morphed into something more than they thought, and then they put in the cool younger black guy. And like we talked about on the gambling episode, like that seems to be a trend where in the MGM commercial and the other betting apps, they did have Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx and so on.
Bro, it's funny to me when I see a black lead in any kind of like marketing campaign. For us, historically, when I was doing stuff, it would be like a a female brunette would crush it because she's not as threatening, right? She seems more attainable to the man, not as threatening to the woman, not as threatening to the man or the woman, right? So smiling, pretty brunette used to crush it. Back in the day when I first got into this, let me throw a black man's face on my campaign. Dead, dead. So it's just cool. It's unique and interesting to me to see how times have changed with marketing campaigns.
Yeah, and the culture is changing. The reception to certain people are changing, and that is interesting. It's funny. I have a script. I just paused that State Farm ad, and then the last part. I forgot this part. I forgot about because the wife says, after he says khakis, the wife says, "She sounds hideous."
Yeah.
Well, he's a guy, so anyway,
Yeah.
great commercial.
Yeah.
Really great commercial. I was only 20. Oh, actually, it looks like it was a long time ago. Looks like it was uploaded in 2011. Huh. Okay, back to the story. We talked about the jingles. By the way, the jingles I think are more powerful than the catchphrases. I thought about this before, and here's a personal story. And I don't know why this is, and maybe this is why I became a marketer ultimately. I never thought, if someone asked me what I want to be when I grew up, never thought I'd be a marketer or anything like that. But in middle school, I had this folder. It's a green folder, and I think I still have it at my parents' house. But I would write the catchphrases of every single commercial that I could remember off the top of my head while I was in class. So it'd be just like farmers, dun dun dun, whatever. It'd be Folgers, and now I can't remember it. But when I was a kid, like I could remember every single commercials. Folgers, the best part of waking up.
Hmm.
Folgers in your cup. But they actually have a long version. Side note, they have a really like a whole minute long song. It's actually really catchy and good. But anyway, I don't know what to make of that. I guess it was always
Wait, wait,
meant
wait,
to
wait, wait.
be.
Why in the hell were you writing jingles in class when you were younger? Did you just you...
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, cool. I
I
had to
just
ask.
whatever was being taught in class was boring, obviously,
Yes, evidently.
and the jingles get stuck in your head. I don't even want to play. I don't want to play these jingles for you because I know they're going to get stuck in your head if I do.
Yeah, please don't.
There's a local ad back in Washington D.C. that used to play, and sometimes just in the middle of the night, I'll wake up in a cold sweat to the jingle because it's just permanently stuck in my head. It's weird.
Oh shit.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Nationwide got in trouble with the Advertising Standards Authority, which is I think some kind of three-letter agency that oversees consumer complaints on advertising, because they had a commercial, a nationwide commercial, meaning they played it all across the
Yeah.
nation, making fun of insurance companies that were closing their branches and juxtaposing them to Nationwide, which they were implying was not closing their branches. Here comes rival San Santander, which I believe is a Spanish company. I need to confirm that. I don't remember. I've heard of them before. I don't know how to pronounce them. But they come in and say, "Excuse me, Advertising Standards Authority. Nationwide is in fact closing branches, and they are being quite misleading about their ads." And the ASA agreed with the complainer and did something bad to Nationwide. The question is, Chris, how does all that make you feel?
Man, I think that it's like who complained about it?
A competitor.
A competitor, man. That's like, yo, mind your own business, in my opinion, because I like the competitive nature, man. I grew up on hip hop, still listen to a little bit of it today, but still the old stuff. But I grew up on hip hop, and hip hop does have its issues, right, with the promotion of violence, this, that, and the other. It does have its issues. But what I loved about hip hop was the competitive nature. So when you would have, there was just one thing. There's this one artist named Kendrick Lamar, one of the younger guys, younger compared to me, really good. And he came out with a song one time, and he called out all these rappers in the song and said he was better. He's like, "I'm better than you, Drake, who's really good. I'm better than you, J. Cole." As he said, he's better than all of them. Eminem, he said he's better, right? And everybody made a big deal about it and was like, "Oh, da 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 da." And I'm like, this is the nature of hip hop. You should come in and say, "I'm better than the next guy." It's almost like me and you, Dimitri. We go on the mat in jiu-jitsu and we fight. We fight, whatever. You tap me out, I tap you out. Afterwards, we shake hands and hug. It is the nature of the sport to compete. It is the nature of hip hop to compete. You should be talking trash to each other. In business, it is the nature to compete. If I'm McDonald's, I'm going to try to poop on Burger King in my commercials and make it funny. It's competition, man. This is the spirit of it. So now you have somebody on the sideline saying, "Oh, it's competition." Like, I don't like that. I like the spirit of competition. Even if they were closing down branches, guess what? They called that other person out first. They were first to the move. Good job on you, Nationwide. What are your thoughts, brother?
I disagree. I disagree with you. I, but not in the exact way that you might think. I agree with competition very much so, and free markets and all that. I think part of the rules of this game are that you can complain to the ASA. You can go to the principal and say this, whatever, this kid was lying, or there's. I don't think there is any problem with companies talking about other companies in their ads and talking about how much better they are. And I think there are some fun examples of that. I'm going to pull those up during our next segment or during this segment. But there's some ads. There's some really interesting ones where companies fight over billboards, which I've seen. I want to talk to you about that one. But here again, like the competition is fair game. So Nationwide is claiming that they've closed the smallest proportion of branches relative to their competitors. That's their case of saying that they're not closing branches. The competitor is saying it doesn't matter. You're still closing branches. And you're making it seem like you're not closing branches. So I think competition good. This is all fair game from everybody's perspective. Nationwide, if you want to go out and do that, I don't like that. It's kind of a questionable way of doing it. Like, don't say then we're not closing, or don't imply that you're not closing branches. Say we're closing the fewest branches. I know that's not as good copy. And you know what? Turned out that this ad was in the top 10% of effectiveness based on somebody's survey. Okay. So you can think about it in the same way of the banking system. So Nationwide went just the same way Wells Fargo went. They decided we're going to do some shady stuff and we're going to get fined for it eventually, but it's worth the risk. I'm not a big fan of that.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was shady. Um, I don't think it was. Well, let me backtrack on it. I think with their rebuttal to "or we're not closing as many" was shady, but the actual like move itself, just to come out and say that this is what's happening to other people, it might be happening in their backyard. It's hypocritical, but they came out in the commercial and they just pointed somebody else out, and evidently it worked. People like this conflict, drama. We talk about how this works in stories. I think it was smart of Nationwide to come out and throw a punch at their competitor, even if they were dealing with some of the same issues in their own backyard.
Apparently, they've closed 20% of their branches nationwide.
That's significant.
But that's fewer than the competitor has. 20%. So now, and here's a funny quote, is rather than competing with Nationwide by matching Nationwide's expensive promise to maintain its branch network, Santander took the much cheaper decision to lodge a complaint with the ASA.
But they don't have that nationwide money, so they couldn't compete. So they pulled that.
They don't have a jingle.
They don't have a jingle, yeah.
Their name, Santander. I'm pretty sure it's a bank, Santander. I'm going to look it up. Santander consumer facing company list. This might, because it is a bank. Apparently it's in the U.S. Yeah, they just, I think they're losing because they don't have a jingle, so they went to the principal's office.
I guess, man. I mean, I don't like it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I guess you can't blame Santander, right? Like if I'm getting in a fight with somebody who I know can just crush me and there's nothing I can do, like I can't fight back, there's no way I can win. So I'm just going to kick you in the balls real quick. Like that's kind of how I feel over here. Like they're just like, oh, we can't fight you. So let me just go do this cheaper move. I don't know. Anyways.
So I want to bring back the auto billboard competition that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And so let me talk through this because I pulled up the article that goes over it, and it was actually about, looks like BMW versus Audi, which are both German car makers in the early 20th century, natural competitors. Mercedes would be another, but this is between BMW and Audi, and it started with, it's the aggressor was Audi, and it said, "Chess, no thanks. I'd rather be driving." I don't know why they talk about chess. And your move, BMW. Oh, I'm sorry. The chess was the punchline, which okay. Pretend you didn't hear about the chess part.
Okay.
The first ad is your move, BMW, the entirely new Audi A4, and a picture of an Audi. So it's calling them out, just like you're talking about. This is like hip hop battles, right?
Yeah.
Then the retaliation, and this is, by the way, they're doing billboards next to respective dealerships. They're really calling them out. So then BMW responds to that with checkmate, BMW. The counterattack was then that punchline, which was chess, no thanks, I'd rather be driving Audi, and so on. So that's kind of fun. I like this type of game, and that does remind me of those rap. Although I don't think anybody's... It reminds me of like modern rap, where it's not like too dangerous.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Who do you think won that this little brief Audi versus BMW battle you just showed me? Who do you think won there?
At that point, Audi won. They also had the last word. BMW may have matched it. Now I'm seeing more now further down in this article. I think later on, your Audi went another one. They actually did another ad, which was "Your pawn is no match for our king."
Oh gosh.
Another chess reference.
Nah,
so Audi was really cleaning up with them.
Nah, bro. BMW won, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Audi comes up. They come out. They throw the first punch, and it was like a weak-handed slap instead of a left hook that you did. If you're gonna throw a punch, if you're gonna come out and call somebody, you need to bring it. And that your move BMW, and then like that you put it in the hands of being like your move. What kind of yeah? And then I like BMW's response. Okay, cool, checkmate. I won. And then now Audi comes with these little like puns and blah blah blah. Like I like BMW's curt one word response. If Audi was going to come out the gates harder. Audi, your move. Like I didn't. I don't know. I like BMW and the little stuff you just showed me.
Yeah, I think you brought me over to the BMW side. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, really, I just bought into Audi's weak sauce.
Yeah,
Dang, I feel bad about buying into that. And now I'm at the end of the article, and it really. So at the end of it, BMW hung what are these called? The floating tubes. I forgot what they're called.
with the guys that
The
were
blimp.
the blimp. Okay, gotcha.
And apparently they had an ad on the blimp with the BMW race car, Formula One race car, and it just says "Game Over."
Curt, one word, just boom, boom. Like I like it, dude. It's like
Yeah,
one step above not even responding to you because you're not worthy. You know.
yeah, yeah. You're right. All right. So now moving from insurance and banking and automobiles to food, and everybody likes food. Hey, just on a side note, okay? I was having this conversation over the weekend with a friend of mine, and we were talking about food. How some people eat for taste, and some people eat just to get calories in the door, so to speak. I don't think people truly realize how much they eat for taste. But that aside, how do you eat?
I eat for the most part. For the most part, I eat for the nutrition and when my body needs it. I fast and I try to have 2 meals a day within that fasting window, and I try not to snack because I don't want to raise my insulin unnecessarily. There are times when I do get stressed, and then I'll start snacking on stuff, and then I'll be cognizant of that and know, hey, I'm just kind of stress eating. Let me back off. I think this is going to get kind of, it might get weird fast, but just follow me here. Food is sometimes like masturbation. I think that some people, they don't masturbate because they're just horny or something. They just masturbate. They masturbate because they're bored. They want to waste time. They want a stress reliever, and it doesn't work. The same thing with food. People stress eat because they're bored or they're stressed or they're whatever. They're not hungry. They're just eating for whatever that reason is, and it's not satisfying the initial reason as to why you are eating. Same thing with masturbation. So that's how I view that.
Well, it does work. I mean, it does work, and that's why people, I think, do it again and again. It works for that moment, but then they do come back to reality, of
Yeah.
course. Well, it sounds like you've got some serious discipline, not snacking. You have a good reason for it, insulin, and that's actually a very interesting, would be an interesting conversation to have on its own. As a matter of fact, I think we should throw this in here
Let's do it.
because this is something that I read about recently. Was that Texas Instruments, which is I think the leading maker of glucose monitors.
I thought a calculator immediately when you said that. I thought of those big old calculators
The
that had
TI
back in the
83 Plus
yeah.
or TI 84 now. Now I've aged myself with the TI 83
Let's
Plus.
go.
So glucose monitors. Now you're not going to believe this, that they make $4 or $5 billion on these things in revenues.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's a really big market, and so I was watching an interview with one of their executives and said the fastest growing segment for their continuous glucose monitors are people without diabetes.
That I wasn't expecting. My next comment was about to be something about the amount of people who have diabetes, and this is why they're making so much money and so on and so forth. I did not know that people without diabetes are their fastest growing or biggest segment or whatever you just said.
I think more people like you that mentions you mentioned you don't want an unnecessary spike in blood sugar. I think more and more people are cognizant of how food affects their blood sugar and how blood sugar affects their day to day, and so they're wanting to know more information about this. But to your previous point is that there are 38.4 million Americans with diabetes.
Just snacking and grazing and snacking and grazing and insulin high over decades. It's going to happen, bro.
Okay, I think I want to put into a future episode something like health and marketing, and we can talk about all the different rings. There's some rings for health you put on your finger, uh, and how they're doing marketing and why, and these glucose monitors and all that stuff. So let's come back to this. I think it'd be an interesting
Oh man,
topic.
yeah, I got some thoughts.
Okay, well then let's talk about something that does in fact raise glucose levels, spikes them in many cases, is a Chipotle burrito. First thing that you think of when you think Chipotle burrito, go.
It's not what it once was. When this popped off, let me age myself. It popped off for me when I was in college, right? So this is the early 2000s or so. And when Chipotle burrito for us back then was, yo, let's spend some money that we don't have because it was relatively expensive compared to ramen or some other thing on this massive burrito. The Chipotle burrito used to be a behemoth, like 2 meals at least, three if you're somebody else. Um, and then now it's become more economical. So when you said Chipotle burrito, the first thing that comes to mind is it's not what it once was.
Completely agree with you there. It's not what it once was, and it kind of goes in spikes and like peaks and valleys, but it's trending down since that those early 2000s. Man, when it came out, it was the best. It was the
Yes.
best ingredients, and it was packed in, and everyone who worked there knew exactly how to roll them.
Yes.
And man, it was just so good. And then now it's whatever. It's just whatever. But let me ask you this, because I think you'll be surprised. What is the value of Chipotle Mexican Grill Incorporated?
700 million.
700 million is your guess. The answer is 100 times bigger than that.
Jeez, the price is
A
wrong, Chris.
hundred times bigger than that. $79 billion is the enterprise value of Chipotle.
Bro, bro, if you're gonna get a franchise, forget the other places. Like you need to get you a Chipotle. Do they franchise out? They do they? I don't
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
why you I don't know why I'm asking you like you know or something like you're some kind of restaurant fast food
I
franchise
wish I knew more
expert.
about franchising. Does Chipotle?
That's a
I'm gonna
lot of
guess no.
money, bro.
$80 billion. Yeah, unfortunately, can't own a Chipotle franchise. All Chipotles are owned and operated by the company, which is maybe one of the reasons
Yeah,
they're so
yeah.
valuable. Now they're up there in terms of value. Like McDonald's is, if I remember correctly, only maybe twice the size of Chipotle at this point. McDonald's market cap.
Shout out to the Chipotle leadership team. That is impressive, man. All selling cheap
Yeah, McDonald's
ingredients.
is only 195.
Boy,
So it's only double. It's only double what Chipotle is. So very impressive by Chipotle, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because you don't get to be a restaurant that A makes a profit in the first place, B is around for over 20 years, and C is worth nearly $100 billion, only half the market cap I mean, is half the market cap of McDonald's. Super impressive. So it's the marketing probably has a lot to do with it, in addition to their strategy and all that. But I want to talk about their marketing. So before I read the newest thing that they're doing, has any of their marketing stood out to you at all?
No, I think it's kind of stale, right? They're trying to play off of that. We have real ingredients and we're using real people, and it's kind of like, at least it's not as scripted as their competitors, but it's not the best branding in my opinion. It doesn't entertain, it doesn't make me laugh, doesn't make me mad, doesn't I get no emotion from their commercials.
So the latest thing that they came out with is an interactive game, an app called Burrito Vault, where they just doled out over $1 million in free burritos for National Burrito Day, which was yesterday, April 4th. So there were people played this game, you got to guess the combination, whatever, whatever. But this is just another example in their long list of creative advertising, which apparently has not worked on you. But we're talking about dress in tinfoil on Halloween and get a free burrito. And the line's out the door, and you're like, you forgot it's Halloween. You're just like a regular person. There's like, what? And you're trying to get lunch. I just want to pay for my burrito and get out of
Right.
here. But that was a big deal for people in high school and college who now probably still have an affinity to Chipotle because of that.
Yeah, I mean, they evidently have marketing campaigns that work. They haven't worked on me, so maybe I'm not their target demographic. But I'm not gonna. That stuff never really worked on me. That whole do this and get a free burger or free that. It's just waste my time. But if I'm in college and I have time, and a burrito back then, and I'm sure today, if you don't have a lot of money in college, is expensive. So if you need to dress up in a tin hat and do some dance for a burrito, I guess I would have, bro. I was eating freaking ramen noodles mixed with hot dog chunks, or cutting up the hot dog. That was a meal to me a few times in college. So hell yeah, I guess I would dress up for a burrito.
So, what are you eating for burritos? Where are you eating? What restaurants?
Shit, restaurant of Jenny Gray, my wife. Like, we make our own stuff, man. She's pulled me out of the whole fast food world, and like we talked about a couple episodes back, or an episode back. I will go if I have to go to a fast food place. I would go to a Chipotle, or we have Roses here in the Texas area. Um, on the what's not on the border, but Taco Cabana in the north, in the South Austin areas, like places that the ingredients at least look real, like the chicken at least looks like chicken, So I'll eat that type of stuff. But for the most part, I like making my own. We like making our own food because it just tastes better when the food is real.
Yeah, it tastes better. You know exactly what kind of oil is being
Yeah,
used. We're going to throw that into the health marketing podcast too, is the marketing of different oils. I think that would be a good one. Yeah, okay. So I mean, I think we're in agreement. Like, okay, Chipotle, go ahead and do whatever you want. It's going to work on some people, not others. Maybe not on Chris Gray, but it is certainly working. I mean,
yep.
$90 billion, very impressive. 80 million.
Hey, what do you think about this whole app thing, though? Like, do you think that's a good idea or not?
Oh yeah, anything app related is a good idea. And if they're gonna gamify, if they're gonna make this look anything remotely close to a casino game, then great. I mean, you're having people spend more time with you and on your app, and they'll just you're gonna stay top of mind. So I'm for it. I think it's a good
Yeah, I'm with
idea.
you, bro. Like you getting people to invest on your app and and interact with your brand and spend more time with your brand. That's smart. So if people are going to start playing the Chipotle game, they're obviously going to be eating more Chipotle burritos. Um, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, let's go to our final topic, which is this. It's kind of a funny article because it sounds like complaining to me. And I'm not one for complaining in terms of marketing. I've had my share. I mean, I do my share of complaining, but when I hear it, it doesn't land well with me. So this one does feel like complaining by CMOs of big companies. But here's the article: is that according to a Wunderman Thompson Commerce and Tech report, 94% of retail CEOs, founders, and C-level executives are. Well, I'm just trying to skip through some of this other stuff, but almost all of them feel like there's too many marketing channels to deal with. You have to. There's just too many channels to effectively sell their product or service. What do you think?
Sounds like a leadership problem. If you're a CEO and you're complaining about this, then you need to look at your CMO and figure out what's going on here because there's a lot of marketing channels, but your brand, your product doesn't belong on all of them. So it's up to your CMO or you leader to figure out who your demographic is and where they're at. If you're marketing Life Alert and then you're worried about being on Snapchat and TikTok, you got a damn problem. But if you're marketing Life Alert and your CMO is like, "Hey, let's market during Wheel of Fortune," smart. Like, so if you can't figure it out and you complain that there's too many, then you got a leadership problem.
You really had me laughing out loud there. Life Alert on Snapchat. I could just picture it. I could start picturing the ads. Maybe they're missing out. Okay, well let me pose it back to you. Is that I don't even think that proposition that you just said, which is your brand doesn't belong on every channel, is in the minds of CMOs. I think most CMOs of big companies believe they should be on every channel. They need to be on every channel or else they're going to get fired.
Again, it goes to a leadership problem. Then, if I'm the CEO and my CMO thinks I need to be everywhere with our brand, then I have to ask myself, then what kind of culture and what kind of expectation am I setting that my CMO is worried about getting fired because they're not on all these brands? If I'm the CEO, instead of complaining or whatever it is that's happening in this article, I'm saying, hey, CMO, figure out our demographic, figure out where they're at, and go advertise there and tell me how much it costs. Tell me what the plan is.
I think there's a little bit even more to this where they're not just talking about online media, which to your point I think is a great point. You don't need to be on Snapchat. You can just be on Facebook ads, for example. You could potentially just do that, or just Google ads, or both of those two big ones. But you don't have to be on Pinterest. You don't have to be on Snapchat. But what about radio and newspapers, magazines, brick and mortar stores, and TV? What about those?
Again, man, it's where my demographics at. So let's just stick with the Life Alert. Like, yeah, they're going to be on certain radio channels. They're going to be on certain. There's going to be certain TV shows that you probably want to market on. You might want to be on Facebook. They're going to be at these certain places. They're going and so it's okay. It goes back to, let me look at my demographic. What is their behavior online, offline, so on and so forth, TV, radio, like what is their behavior? And let me be there. It just comes down to knowing your demographic.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like complaining, like I mentioned earlier, where advertising used to only be on just three channels: NBC, ABC, CBS. Those are the only three channels that existed. There's radio, so two channels, not a lot to go through. Then there's direct response through newspapers, magazines. But now there really is a lot. There are a lot of platforms that you can advertise through, and even in radio, you can do FM and AM, and you can do iHeartRadio and other radio, and then Pandora and Spotify and all these different platforms just in radio. And so, man, leadership. So it all comes down to leadership, in your opinion.
What do you think?
I think that it is hard to sell on multiple channels in part because of attribution. you don't know where you're actually getting your customers from. Unless you're running one channel, then you do know it's either that channel or word of mouth, which is difficult to track. Word of mouth is when you're advertising on Facebook and Google, and you're working on your SEO strategy, and you're on TV and connected TV and like all these other things, you don't know what's working. And I've worked with some companies where they just say, here's our budget for each of these channels for the year. And it's not flexible at all. It's just, this is what it is. And here's how much we're spending on billboards. Here's how much we're spending on this and that. Like, they have no idea at this point where their revenue is coming from. They just don't. So they have to keep addressing every new channel that comes up. And I think that might be the concern is we're just spending money. We don't know what's working. We have no way of knowing what's working. It's a little bit overwhelming.
I understand with what they're saying and those brands, and welcome to marketing. Welcome to marketing in 2024. Going back to the home service stuff, back in 2012 or 14, I could put out a pay-per-click ad, and then the consumer would click on that pay-per-click ad, call the company, and we can attribute that call back to the pay-per-click ad. It used to be that simple. I could put if I was in the affiliate world or the e-com world, I could put an ad on Facebook. Somebody would buy on Facebook, and then I could attribute it to Facebook. User behavior has shifted. Things have changed. I'm not a big branding guy. Branding is super important now. Let's stick with the home service companies. They have, if you, Dimitri, are a homeowner, and let's say you have a plumbing problem, like I just got fixed today. You have a plumbing problem, and you look up plumber near me, and all these companies come up, and you're thinking, which one of these are good? Which one's affordable? Which one can I trust? You have no freaking clue. But if I have carpet bombed you with entertaining commercials on Facebook, Instagram, um, you would be. Are you on Twitter? So yeah, you seem
Mm-hmm.
like you'd be on Twitter or whatever. If I've been giving you commercials, not just like, hey, welcome to Chris Gray's Plumbing, where we do the greatest plumbing you can no, like funny stuff and things that humanize me and make you laugh. Now, when you have that plumbing problem and I come up, you're more likely to call me. That's the game now. Is you have to kind of be, and it goes back to what I keep saying, is you have to be where your demographic is, and then make sure that they know you. How do you make sure they know you? Well, you have to entertain them. At the end of the day, you can't be boring. You got to get some kind of feeling out of them, right? And so that's the name of marketing. It comes down to just knowing where you got to be. And who freaking knows? Let me end it with this. We bought Windows last year. We bought Windows. I saw an ad for this window company on Facebook. I screenshotted it, sent it to my wife. My wife looks at the screenshot, Facebook, goes to Google, goes to their website, checks it out, makes note of it. And then when it comes time to call, we call through their, I believe it was their Google Guaranteed or their pay per clicked, right? One of those ads. So it started with Facebook, but who got the attribution? One of the either Google Guaranteed or PPC. This is user behavior, homie. Like you can't track it like we used to. Thumbs down.
Can't
Can't
track it
track
like
it
we
like we
used
used
to.
to, bro.
Yeah, and user behavior is actually typically even more complicated than that. You see it on Facebook, then you go research it on YouTube, then you maybe talk to a friend what companies do they use, and it just goes on and on. And so that's why they're overwhelmed. And picture this: you're a CMO, and your CEO tells you, okay, here it is. You're a CMO, and you're saying online competition is as high as ever, is as high as it's ever been. And then your CEO is like, well, we're failing to recognize the unique opportunities presented by different channels, and we risk being left behind by peers. So, like, we need to be on all these channels. And I think you're actually making that point too, that you do, in fact, need to be on all these channels. And even as a small business, you can't even just put an advertisement out. You said you have to be entertaining. You effectively need to be a TV show producer, an
Yes.
entertainer. You have to, and you can't just do it on one channel. You have to be everywhere. So how can small businesses do it? And the answer, I suppose, but I'm curious to hear. I mean, what you think really is the answer, but the answer is we as marketers, we get to keep our jobs.
Yeah, that's why they hired me, Dimitri. If I keep using the home since we're talking about home service, to stick with it. If you're a chuck in the truck, like one chuck truck or chuck in the truck, this is what they name like these one guy small man operations. You don't have the budget of a big franchise backed organization, so you got to be smart. So you can't make a big production, you can't make some kind of film that's entertaining. What can you do? Well, shit, man, get creative. There are viral clips about plumbers. If you go to TikTok or whatever, you could take a viral clip, something that's already worked, something we've talked about, and then put your own funny commentary over that viral clip. Like find something like a home plumbing repair gone wrong. You find that, and then you say, "This is what happens when the husband doesn't want to call the plumber." And you put that out. Now you're just paying for your ad spend, and you got something that's already worked, and it's going to go viral. And it's going to beat whatever dumbass coupon thing that you wanted to advertise. This is very personal to me, anyways, because this type of stuff has happened. But this is my point, man.
I think the moral of the story is if you're in home services, you got to hire Chris Gray in the future. That's really what it comes down to. But it does seem like life in general is becoming more
Absolutely,
complicated. Not just in marketing, which it is. It is getting, even though we have more tools than ever, we have more tracking tools and this and that, it is becoming more complicated because of how many touch points there are, how much value you have to provide in advertising, which you never would think that's what advertising is, but now it is. It's kind of like even managing your finances. It used to be, as an individual or as a family, you don't have to really think about your finances. But in today's day and age, with inflation and what's like money, this and there's different options. It's cash and stocks and bonds and Bitcoin and so you effectively have to become a family office. So this marketing article, I think, is just a reflection of society as a whole, just more and more complicated.
man. I couldn't agree with that anymore. We were on a call earlier this week. I'm not sure if you caught this portion of the call, but it's guys and women who are very successful at what they do, and some of them are like, why we do what we do. And the guy was like, what? And he's like, it's because it's the only thing we're good at. The only thing that they're good at was making money. And their family life is in shambles, their health was in shambles. And I guess at some point that was kind of acceptable. Money cured all the ills. Work was an acceptable addiction. And to some degree today it still is. But to me, the men I respect, like the man I'm looking at right now, Dimitri, it's not, yeah, we go hard in business, but that's not just enough. You have to go equally as hard in your family life, at least try to. Go equally as hard in health, at least try to. And that is the type of man that I respect and hope to become.
Well, Chris, I would argue that you are one of the leaders in that space of managing things, and I know there's of course complications, and we can all uh, be thinking about things that we're not doing enough of, but all things considered, I think you are doing a great job about
Thank
that.
you, brother.
With that, and I also want to say, well, and I heard this podcast last week. It was two guys I really respect in the business world, and I don't think they were just discussing this topic, and they were saying they split it up, I believe, into 4 or 5 categories, life categories. Okay, so business it was business, spouse, kids and family, or kids, and then family and friends, like extended family and friends, and health. And I think it was 5 categories, but it may have been that kids and family and friends were all in one. But they said, here are 4 categories of life. Pick 2. Just pick 2. Those you can only do 2 at a time.
Pick two.
No, I'm not
Okay.
saying like
Yeah.
pick 2. They're just saying you can only do 2
Oh,
at a
yeah. I
time.
got you. I feel that. I feel it. Well, kind of.
I like to think of it in 5, and maybe I'll like pose this as a question to you, but if we say like business, spouse, kids, extended family and friends, and health, you can do three well or two incredibly well. Um, would you agree with that?
To a certain degree, yes. You and I have talked about this. I know it's about to end, but to me, all that shit you just told me, it all falls under health, wealth, and love. And I think that if you structure your day in a disciplined manner, you can get all three of those in. At least that's what I try to do.
Do you mean all five of
To me,
those?
again, it's just health, wealth, and love for me.
Oh,
That's
there's
it.
three.
Health
Gotcha.
and
Health,
the five
I
you
see.
gave me still fall under health, wealth, and love. And something that you told me over breakfast one time is if you look at all that, it really is just health. At the end of the day, all of that
Right.
that's from you. So, but anyways, to me, health, wealth, and love. I think you could do all three.
Yeah, and we're about to close here, but I'm thinking. Well, first of all, this is something that you and I are both passionate about, and I think we've teased this in a previous episode that we are working on, behind the scenes on maybe a program or an event of some kind that would focus on health, wealth, and love, and those three in detail. Meaning, how do you achieve each one of those, and how do you achieve all three of them? And I think that's one of the reasons I want to talk about this is that compared to 50 years ago, where I think this would have been really true, and where people really only took two of these seriously, between the five categories, I mean, because I think there is, as subcategories of love, where you do spouse and you do kids and you do family and friends, and maybe some other subcategories of that, like self love or whatever. Um, but I think in today's world, with the tools that we have available to us, online, internet, AI, um, marketing, content that can reach millions of people, that there's actually more opportunity to be successful in all the categories all at once.
Hmm.
I think it is possible.
That would be a good discussion, sir.
Okay, well, we'll discuss that in a future episode. We're glad that you all could have joined us for this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Take
Peace.
care.